The history of Mecca. Did Mecca exist during Abraham's time? This is Daniel Ammari from the Religion Research Institute. This episode is based on Dr. Rafat Ammari's book, Islam in Light of History. What does Islam claim about Mecca? Well, several points. Number one, Mecca existed during Abraham's time and Ishmael's time. Number two, Abraham and Ishmael built the temple of Kaaba. 3. Hagar fled from the land of Canaan to Mecca. 4. Mecca was an important center of monotheism and trade from Abraham's time until Muhammad's time, indwelled by the largest and the most important tribes and nations of Arabia and the world. 5. A significant tribe called Jurhum lived there. It is more significant than the Himyarites. These are the Islamic claims about Mecca, and we will be studying these, investigating them in the light of archaeology, history, and the Bible. Now, why these claims are important to the religion of Islam? Because these Islamic claims about Mecca are foundational. This is what the religion of Islam is founded upon. The Quran repeatedly states that Abraham was a Muslim, so that the religion of Islam, the concept of deity of Islam, the main practices of Islam came from Abraham according to Islam. If the Islamic claims about Mecca are false, so is the foundation of Islamic religion. Now we're going to be looking at the historical and geographical records. Yemen and its routes. Mecca was eventually built as a station on the caravan route to Yemen. Therefore, in order to investigate the history of Mecca, one must study the history of the routes of Yemen through Arabia. There are two routes passing through and close to the area where Mecca was eventually built. The first one is the marine route, and the second one, which was later constructed, is the land route. So basically, it's very important to understand the land routes and the marine routes because this is where Mecca was eventually built, and for that reason. And there are certain facts about Yemen that will help. The earliest Egyptian record about people living in Yemen is the 14th century BC. The earliest possible record of establishment a kingdom in Yemen is 12th century BC. Earliest possible adoption of marine route for travel is 12th century BC. Earliest possible adoption of land route is 3rd century BC. Before the Sabaeans, no caravan crossed Arabia. The cities that were built on the caravan road appeared very late in history. Now we're going to look at the Greeks and the Roman history and geography. In particular, there were Greek and Romans, historians and geographers that actually visited that area, the area that Mecca was eventually built, and documented it very well, and they documented Western Arabia very well, and provided some documentations that are very important. These documentations give us clear picture about that area, the area of Mecca, the inhabited region of sand where Mecca was eventually built, from the 4th century BC till the 4th century AD. So we're going to be examining that period between the 4th century BC till the 4th century AD. Several Greeks and Roman historians walked that route and documented everything. However, they did not find Mecca. And this is very significant because according to the Islamic claims, Mecca was supposed to be in existence from 2000 BC all the way to Muhammad's time as the most significant city of Arabia, the center of trade, the center of religion, the center of monotheism, the capital of Arabia. And yet, from 4th century BC till 4th century AD, these historians and geographers walked the route, documented the area where Mecca was supposed to be built, and yet there was no Mecca. And we'll start with the 4th century BC, the Alexander the Great. The Alexander the Great, in the 4th century BC, sent 3 naval expeditions to survey Arabia from a larger harbor in Babylon. First, led by Achaias. Second, under Androsthenes, who wrote a book about it, and this book was quoted by several historians and geographers, such as Strabo and Eratosthenes. Third, under Hieron of Soli, went as far as Western Arabia. Not single one of them mentioned Mecca. 2 geographers, Baltimos ben Lagos and Aristobulus, who developed survey for the coast of the Red Sea. However, they did not mention Mecca. Now we come to the 4th century BC and the expedition of Anaxicrates. Alexander the Great sent another expedition while still in Egypt. He sent Anaxicrates to explore Western Arabia with complete and accurate survey of western coast of Arabia. Yet, no mention of Mecca. He was meticulous to study distances between cities, and yet there is no Mecca whatsoever. This is very significant because in the 4th century BC, we see multiple expeditions by Alexander the Great, we see multiple geographers, we see multiple historians, and these documentations were documented for us and quoted by other historians and by other geographers, and yet there is no mention of Mecca. Now we come to the 4th to the 3rd century BC, Theophrastus. Theophrastus, between the 4th century and the 3rd century BC, wrote about Sabaeans and their trade, and their land, and their marine routes. Mecca was supposed to be the center of trade with Yemen, yet he did not mention Mecca. Finally, we come to the 3rd century BC of Ptolemy II. 3 explorers surveyed the coast of Red Sea during Ptolemy II. Satyrus, Simmias, Ariston. They began north until they reached Yemen, but they did not mention Mecca. At the end of the 3rd century BC, we come to Eratosthenes. Complete survey for the Red Sea, land and marine routes, measured the length of the Red Sea, but did not mention Mecca. However, he described the region where Mecca was eventually built. So again, notice that this is not an argument from silence. It's not that they did not came to the area where Mecca was built. It's not that they did not actually document the area where Mecca was built. They came to the area where Mecca was supposedly to be built. They did not find Mecca. That is significant. Now we come to the 2nd century BC, to Agatharchides of Alexandria, most important geographer and historian of that era. He documented all of Western Arabia, from south of Jordan till Yemen, but did not mention Mecca. He documented accurately the uninhabited area where Mecca was later built, but no Mecca. Expeditions and discoveries from 7th century and 8th century AD confirmed the accuracy of the writings of Agatharchides. The accuracy of his survey is very much accepted by scholars. As we have seen, multiple expeditions, multiple geographers, multiple historians documented Western Arabia, visited Western Arabia, visited the spot where Mecca was eventually built, and yet they did not mention Mecca. We would actually expect it to mention Mecca because the Islamic claims state that Mecca was already in existence from 2000 BC and continued to exist until Muhammad's time as the most significant city center of Arabia, as the trade center, as the religious monotheism center. and yet there is no mention of Mecca. This is Daniel Ammari from the Religion Research Institute.